This is a preacher training school, and it's set up by Bear Valley. It's a congregation out in Colorado, in Denver, Colorado. They have schools all over the world. This school here offers a bachelor's degree as well as a master's degree. They can come and stay with us for 2 years for free. They stay on campus there, and they can get their bachelor's degree. They then go back, and they have to spend a year in the field, and then they're allowed to come back for Blitz Weeks courses to be able to get their master's degree as well. So these degrees are actually accredited from the states. They're not just getting certificates, they're getting actual degrees. The local guys are now teaching most of the bachelor level classes. They've got their master's degree, so now they come back and do most of the teaching for the school. Now the ones that come and get their masters, we do have guys still coming from the states with their doctorate degrees who are teaching those classes in those Blitz Weeks courses. An example of this on this picture here, there's these guys standing up, and I'm squatted down in front of them there. This is a church that's about 2.5 hours away in Bonga. One of the men in here came to the school. He received his degree, went back and started a congregation. After starting that congregation, this year he's graduated 2 more. So there's now been 9 other men who've come from there and graduated from the school. So now there's been a total of 10, all from that one man coming to the school. Now in this area where there were no churches, there's been 7 churches set up, and there's 2 men going back in order to set up 2 others. So you can see how this model works. We bring these guys in, we give them the tools and the abilities that they need to then go back out and evangelize their own people. That's kind of been the goal, the vision of this work since the start. It's also been to pass on the leadership of the work to the locals. That was seen last year when we now have 2 men who are running the school. There's the guy who's a dean of students, a guy who is dean of academics, and then most of the bachelor's level teaching is being done by the locals. So they're running the school, they're doing their own teaching. So this has kind of been the goal, the vision from the start for this work, is that the locals could run this thing. Now, what we got asked to do by Brother Cy here was to come in and help with another part of the work. In order for this to be here forever, the first part was to get the locals able to run the school, be able to teach at the school, start the churches and send them out. Now we have to figure out some way to be able to fund the school as well. And so that's where Brother Cy approached us about coming and starting a farming project at the school. And at first it was on a small scale to help just cover some of the cost of the food, which is kind of expensive. When we max out, each class can hold about 30 people, so it's about 60 students plus staff and stuff. So we're at full capacity. We're looking at feeding about 80 people 3 times a day. Most of the time, the school's around right now. I think right now we have around 50 people that we're feeding 3 times a day. But we're looking if we ever can get it maxed and get it up to that number. So that's kind of our vision and goal, is to be able to provide the food for that many people. Well, the project has went really well. It's done well, and we've been asked to come back, is why we committed for 3 more years to. Our initial commitments for a year. That was 2 years ago, and now we've been here a year of our 3-year commitment. I know that's kind of confusing probably. So 4 years total, and we've been 2 out of the 4 years. To take this farming project to another level to where we can see the school be self-sufficient as well as self-running. And so we have several projects that we started that we're helping run, and each of these projects we're teaching local guys to run these things. So while I'm here in the States going around presenting the work, I talked to my farm manager yesterday, and they're still rolling with things, still adding things, still doing things, and they're able to run these because they've been taught and trained to do these things on their own. So that's kind of the vision and goal, is that these guys take this over in a couple more years once we get everything up and running that we want to do. I have some pictures from last year and then some pictures from this year to kind of show the progression and some of the things that we've done. This is our raised beds. This is one of the projects that we're doing. And this, we grow all the greens that the school uses. Their main staple, they eat greens pretty much every meal. They take them, they saute them like we do our collard greens, and they use those to eat pretty much for either with chicken or with ugali or whatever they're eating. They always eat these greens. So this was last year. We put in 30 beds, and we did this using buckets, as you can see. So it's taking a couple hours every morning and every evening to carry we had to carry buckets ourselves and then pour into these buckets. And with 30, so that was 30 times, and then there was 4 of us working. Most of the time it was 2 of us doing this, so it took a while to fill all these buckets up. We use the drip irrigation. One, we don't have a lot of water where we are. It enables us to conserve as much as possible. And so this year, though, we added some more beds, and we did away with the buckets. So now we're up to 40. We got rid of the buckets. We now have run a pipe all the way across, and we have put in a big tank. So now it takes us 15 minutes to water in the morning, 15 minutes to water in the evening. We just walk over, we turn the little handle, it lets the water through. Everything's gravity fed, and so then it runs to all our beds. And we have cutoffs all along this this pipe you see here, so we can control what we're watering, so we're not watering in beds we don't need to be watering. We plan according to that as we rotate our beds. So this was we actually got a price to get this put in by a local company there. It's going to be about $7,000 to get all this stuff done. In Africa, we have a saying, use what you have, and at that time we did not have any money to do that project. But I was able to go to town and found this pipe. It's just a normal water pipe that they had. I think it cost me $200. I took a pair of needle nose pliers and I stuck it into the pipe and reamed it out real good. And then we stuck the hose that were into the drip line into this, and as it heated back up in the sun, it sucked that pipe back together and it closed up on the pipe. So we were able to do this for about $200. So it saved us a ton of money doing it this way. It's not, when you look at it, you can tell it's not professionally done, but it works. And so that's all that really matters. So we were able to do all this. We've added 40 beds or 10 more beds. We did that because now we're growing all the lemongrass at the school. They use that for their tea. One thing that stuck is tea time, since this was a British colony. So we're growing all the lemongrass now. So they take tea time in the morning for breakfast, and we're growing that. They take the lemongrass, they boil it in water, they pour it out, add 200 or 300 pounds of sugar in it, and then they drink it every morning. It's rough. I can't. I'm a coffee guy, not all that sugar. You can see in the front of the picture, there's a lot of greens out front as well. We've also started putting in our own seed beds. Before, we were buying our plants in town. We were bringing them, transplanting them into the drip lines. Now we grow our own. We have our own seed beds, and it's hard to tell because this one's kind of getting out of control in this picture. But there's trenches that run all through this, and so when it rains a lot, the water runs through this, and we can send it on out of the property. We get rains 3 months out of the year, and when we get it, we get a lot very, very fast, so we have to worry about flooding. So that's one of the reasons, too, why we use the raised beds. So we've expanded this project. We've also made it a lot easier to sustain, not as much labor to have to run this, and we're producing all the greens, the lemongrass, the peppers, the onions, all the stuff that the school is using full-time now. And we're able to grow enough to sell as well. We're still doing the chickens. We're still doing the egg project that we had started last year. We had a little problem with this, and I don't know this. Sorry, let me look at my slides real fast. No. The one I had didn't pull up, so I'm kind of winging as I look at the pictures. So bear with me. We started the chicken project as well. We had a backslide this year. The first rains we got, the ditch backed up, and some trash got in the culvert. All the water overflooded into the field, and it went straight to our chicken house. So I actually have a picture where the water is right at the windows in the chicken house. And so it killed most of our chickens. Some of them that did survive, there were little ducks swimming around in there. We were able to save some of them. We pulled those out. They never really laid good again. And so we had to restart that project over. To fix that, the 4 of us redug the ditches out in front of the school. It took us like 4 weeks to dig those ditches out by hand using a pick and shovel. So it was a lot of work. We were able to get those ditches dug out. We also brought dirt in and piled it around the chicken house. And then we've knocked out some holes in the concrete on the other side to make sure the water in that doesn't happen again. So we've restarted this project. I don't have a picture of it on this one. This is the old chicken house versus the new chicken house. We restarted this project, so now we're back up to 700 layers now. They're laying good. I talked to the guy yesterday. I think he said they're getting about in between 13 to 15 trays a day. And so he's actually trying right now to find some more people to be buying more eggs from us now that we're building up our market back up. So we're able to sell enough to cover all our costs and also make some money for the school as well. So as we do things, the extra money goes back in the school. It's not going back into us, but going back into school to cover the cost of paying the employees and other things as well. We also do broilers there. We kill about 300 a month. This is used for the meat for the school. We provide all the meat for the school. They eat about 150 a month. The other 150 we sell, and that covers our cost of killing these things. So they're getting free meat for the school. So that knocks that off the budget line as well. we used to do this by hand. You can see a picture there. We don't do that anymore. We found a group of ladies who will come and actually clean them for us for free. It's pretty awesome. We give them the heads and the feet, and they clean, put them in bags, and they apparently they get a pretty good, some good money from the heads and feet, but it saves us a whole day's worth of work. So it works that well. They come at the end of the month every month. They show up, they kill the chickens for us, and so we got a pretty good deal worked out with them. We have a dairy project as well that we talked about. This year we've had 4 more females born, so we're up to 11 total. And we have 1 bull who was actually killed yesterday. We killed our bull. He'll be used for the meat for the school for a long time, which I was excited when I actually wanted to be there when that happened because he tried to kill me this year. And so I was looking forward to getting the payback, but they said school's about to open back up, and so they slaughtered him last week or this week, and so he'll be used for the feed for the school for several months in the freezers and stuff. He did throw 4 girls this year, so we have 4 more on top of the 2 that we had. We bought another one, and then we had another female the first year, so we're up to 9 females. The goal was to get to 10. We're already up to 9, so in a couple of years, these babies will be able to breed and then to produce milk. So hopefully, this project is running on track as well. We use this in the tea as well in the mornings for breakfast. They put this in with the chai or the lemongrass tea, and we're able to do that, and we sell the rest to the local people. They're lined up every morning at our gate buying this stuff, so it works out really nice. And this is our old cow house and new cow house. These are some pictures from last year. We haven't talked about some of the other stuff yet with the bigger farming projects, but this is how we feed our cows during the dry season. We get rain for 3 months. We grow our row crops during that time. At the end of that, we take all the stalks from the corn that we produce. We run it through a wood chipper. We have an old wood chipper over there. It chops up our stalks. We then put those in bags and store them in the cow house, and we feed this with molasses and with milk minerals to preserve the cows during the dry season. During the rainy season, we put them in a pasture, and we rotate to a couple different pastures. That way we can keep producing milk year-round. This is a new project that we just did I'm excited about. We put in over 215 fruit trees on our property. All this land was grass and trees right here that you see. We went through, we cut all these trees down. I think actually my brother was there for part of this. When we cut these down with machetes, and you can ask him about it, we handed him a machete and said, okay, we need to cut this tree down. He went over there and hit it like 10 times, I think, and hadn't even knocked the bark off the tree yet. And he's like, y'all are joking with me. This is a joke, right? And I was like, well, no, this is how we really cut the trees down. So one of my guys grabbed the knife from me. He hit it till he got tired and handed it to me. I hit it till I got tired, and the next guy hit it till he got tired. And finally, an hour later, the tree falls down. And we have to dig around the tree with a shovel and pick, and then yank it up with the truck or with the tractor. And so there's a lot of work goes involved in pulling these trees up. And so in this area, we planted 215 fruit trees now. So we planted yellow bananas, red bananas, these small sugar bananas that they have. We've also planted avocado, papaya, there's oranges, there's mangoes, moringa trees, which if you've never heard about moringa trees, they're one of the most nutritious trees on the planet. You take the leaves, you dry them out, and then you grind them into a powder. Then you can put them in the ugali or the porridge that they eat, which has no nutritional value at all, and it makes it super healthy for them. So we planted about 20 of those. So we're excited about these trees. You can see the chicken house is right behind that. Some things that I want to talk about in the chicken house as well. If you look at the top of the roof there you see a black tank. We put in automatic waterers now for the chicken house. One thing we were having to do was bring water to these guys about 5 times a day, just because it's so hot there. They drink a lot of water. When you have 500-600 chickens, it takes a lot of water to keep these things watered. So the chicken guy was having to spend 5-6 hours a day just bringing water back and forth pretty much nonstop. So we put in these automatic waterers so the water stays there constantly. We also put solar panels on our chicken house, kind of a test run. The solar runs the chicken house, it runs the tractor shed, it runs the boiler house, and also runs all the electrical fence around the property. We did this to test to see how it would work. Bear Valley is actually now raising money to put the whole school on solar. With the money they're raising, they're going to put the whole school on the solar. We're also going to drill a well on the back side of our property. The consensus was always there was no water on our property, but because of new technology, we had a company come out. They drove the rods into the property, ran the I'm not sure how all that works, but the electrodes down and found water. It's about 150 meters, so it's about 500-something feet, 520 feet down. So we have the price of having a company come out and drill that well for us, which would be a huge help for the school and for the overall budget for the school and for the project. And also we're talking about, with the fundraising money too, putting in some natural gas tanks to do all the cooking as well for the school. But now that our cows have come up, we put in some tanks that catch the manure as it's coming out of the cow house, and we'll use that to run in these natural gas to be able to do all the cooking as well. So hopefully by next year we'll have the solar up and running, we'll have the well dug, so we'll knock off the power, we'll knock off the water, and knock off the gas as well. And then we're also growing all the fruit. Some of the other things that we're doing, I haven't showed you the picture yet of the tractor. We got a brand new tractor, which has helped a lot this year. But we have a man who has, who we're in the workings of getting about 200 or 300 acres, about 2 hours away, to be able to grow some bigger rows of crop. Using the tractor that we've collected, with this we could almost completely wipe out the budget. If we could, because there where we are, we can grow 2 times a year. So it'd be a huge help for the school if we can work out that arrangement. The guy's a good friend of ours. I think it's going to work out. We just have to get back on the ground and hammer out some details. We're also planning this year to start doing turkeys and pigs. We planned to do that last year, but when the chickens died, we had to restart that project back up. And so we focused on that instead of adding something else on top of that. We wanted to get the things we had established back up and running. The turkeys, we can sell them for $100 a piece to a guy that's right up the hill from us, as long as they're ready during Thanksgiving and Christmas. There's just not a lot of turkeys there, so they go for a lot. And so we've already worked out a deal with a butcher to be able to sell all the turkeys we can grow out for $100 a piece. And then the pigs as well, he'll buy all that we have. We'll get the babies from him. We'll grow them out, then he'll buy them back from us. So we're pretty excited about working out some of these deals with some of these other guys to be able to help benefit the school and helping cover some more of these costs. This is the new tractor that we got. Last year we were planting around 2 acres, and everything was done by hand. We were tilling by hand. We were getting the land ready by hand. We were planting by hand, fertilizing by hand. Everything we were doing was by hand. And so it was taking about a month for us to plant 2 acres. Once we got this thing, we were able to clear 3 more acres. So now we have every bit of property, like every square inch of the property that we have, we've tilled up, pulled all the trees out of, and we're using for something. And so we're able to do about 5 acres this year. And you can see the guy driving is Augustine. We talked a little bit about him last year. He's our farm manager. So my father-in-law happened to be there when we first got back and had the tractor. And he spent a lot of time teaching Augustine how to run the tractor, how to use the implements that we have for the tractor, how to check it, change the oil, do all the maintenance and checks on the tractor. So he knows how to do it. He did all the planning this year by himself. And so that's important that, I would love to have been out there running that instead of been standing there using the shovel or the rake and stuff. But we taught him to run the tractor so that he can do all these things on his own if we're not there. This year we had a great crop. The Lord definitely blessed us. With us using the tractor, things are a little different. People were making fun of us the whole time. Even like people from the village were laughing. The students were making fun of us. One thing they do over there, they plant their corn pretty far apart. You see, we know we plant corn close because it's self-pollinating. The closer you can get it together, the better chance you have of it producing, right? Well, over there, they leave it apart because they say it has to have air to breathe, is what they told me. And so there's like, your corn's not going to grow because it doesn't have air to breathe. And so the whole time we were fighting that. They also don't use fertilizer. We go back through and put nitrogen on our corn. The reason why they don't use fertilizer is because they were never taught to use it properly. So they go out in their fields and they throw the nitrogen up all over the place, all over the field. It lands on the corn, and then it burns up the corn. And so they think fertilizer is bad for your corn. Excuse me. And so I had to teach the guys how to properly use the fertilizer. And the whole time, though, everyone's like, you're going to kill your corn, you're going to burn up your roots. But you can see the corn did very good. And this is 90-day corn. And this year we did not get very good rain at all, so it's a good stand. This is probably my least favorite day of the year. We take all the corn, after it's been dried for a long time, we cut it, we stack it in piles. My brother-in-law happened to be here at this time. He's a sod farmer in Georgia, was a general contractor for a long time, so he's pretty in shape. He's always outside using his hands working. If you ask him this story, he'll tell you, he tried to show out before lunch and try to keep up with me and the guys, because we're used to working in this climate, we're used to working like this. And so we go in and eat lunch, he comes back out after lunch, and the culture over there is very, very blunt. When you talk to these guys, they're very blunt, And so one of my guys comes up and he's like, your brother-in-law is dead. He died. And he was dead serious. I was like, that's how he would have told me. He wouldn't, no emotion on his face. He's like, yeah, he's dead. And so I was like, I really might have just died. So I was all scared. I was like, where's he at? So he takes me around. He went inside the school area and just like laid out on the ground. And he's pouring water over his face the whole time. And I was like, what are you doing? And he was like, well, I got too hot. And so the whole time after lunch, he was out 2 or 3 minutes, laying back down, out 2 or 3 minutes. And so it's hard work doing this stuff. Even with a lot of the implements that we have, it's still very hard. So we stack it like this. And this is just white field corn. I would love to be growing yellow corn or sweet corn. Is you can't get the seeds there. This corn has no nutritional value at all, hardly, especially after you dry it. The reason why they don't grow yellow corn, this is the thinking behind this. Several years ago, there was a famine in East Africa. The UN, the U.S. sent over corn, and we sent over yellow corn, right? Because that's what we grow. Well, they assumed at the time they were getting the yellow corn for free, while the white corn was astronomical. The price no one over there could afford to buy the white corn. So the yellow corn to them is poor man's corn. So they won't grow yellow corn because they think it's poor man's corn. You can't even buy seed over there for it. And so we've tried to work out some deals where maybe we can start getting it from some other places and start implementing at least part of our farm, growing it, to let them try it out and slowly introduce it. It'll be way more healthy for them, way more better for their diets. That's not something we've been able to accomplish yet. You can see the corn there. We then pick it from the thing, and then we actually have a trailer this year, which is awesome. We got this right before, it actually came in on this picture of this day as we started pulling the corn off the husk. Last year we were having to put all the corn in wheelbarrows and wheel it all the way back, one wheelbarrow at a time. This year we were able to get a trailer, so it was super awesome. It saved us a lot of time, a lot of energy. Then we lay it out and we let it dry. We also got the machine, a sheller machine this year to go with the tractor. It runs off the PTO shaft. So we put the corn in, it shoots the shell on one side, or the corn on one side, and it shoots the shucks on the other. That's the cobs on the other side, sorry. Then we use the cobs for charcoal. And we have a lot of events at the school. We have a youth event where there's several hundred youth come. It's like a big youth camp. It's run by the people who run Backwoods. They come over and run a camp there. We have a future preacher training camp. We have graduation. We have like a PTP seminar. We have people that come over from all over the world and speak at this seminar for a week. It's called Tanzania Leadership Conference. We have different functions going on at the school all the time. So instead of having to go and buy firewood, going and buy charcoal, we use the cobs to do all our cooking stuff at the school, because all the cooking is done outside over an open flame for these larger events. So everything we have gets used. So we use the stalks to feed the cows, the corn the school uses for their food, and then the cobs we use for our cooking as well. This year, we were able to produce very, very well because of the tractor, because of the new implements. We were able to produce 85 bags of corn. Last year on the 2 acres, we produced around 13 bags, which is enough to last the school year. So this is enough to last over 3 years just on that little bit of property we have at the school. To kind of put this in perspective, I'm not sure how many bushels this is, but each bag weighs about 220 pounds. It's 100 kilos. Each bag has 6 20-liter buckets full of corn in it. And so it's right at 220 pounds apiece. And we were able to produce 85 of these. And so the school, this is enough to last the school over 3 years. These bags have 2 layers of plastic in them and then a layer of mesh around the outside so that we can store this stuff forever. And the bugs can't get in it. We keep rat poison. It's up, and then we keep rat poison down below it so the rats don't get in it. And so it can last, as long as we can keep it in there, it'll last. Then they take this and they grind it to a powder, and they mix it with like a corn powder, and then they grind it and they mix it with water and boil it, and it becomes like this pasty stuff. It's like grits that's been left out for 2 or 3 days. It's called ugali is what they call it. So these are some of the things we've been doing with the farm, how we progressed and moved on. This year we plan on planting beans. We did corn last year, this year beans. The guy over the farm should be meeting with some other farmers in the area, hopefully today or yesterday. Yeah, I talked to him Friday, so yesterday. My days get mixed up. He's supposed to go have a meeting with them. They're big farmers. They farm about 250 acres of beans every year right across from us. He's going to go work out of them about getting seeds and talk to them about what they do and the do's and don'ts. And so he's supposed to call me back next week and talk about what he learned from them. So this year, hopefully plant beans. We're still teaching the students this. I have class with the students, teaching them about the farming stuff. We bring them out to the farm and teach them about the raised beds, about the cows, about the chickens, so they can go back and take these out to their villages as well. We're still going out to local churches and putting in these raised beds and teaching these seminars for free to help the churches with help the churches with some of the poor members have their own information to take back to their own farms or whatever they feel best fits the church to use these for. This year we got to work with the orphanage. There's an orphanage across town. We designed these beds for them, helped them put them in, did a one-day seminar over there and put these beds in for them. Then the guy went back and hooked up one of the guys that works with me went back and hooked up the drip line stuff for them after that. We also did some teaching about chickens and cows with some of their guys. And so they put in the cow house, the chicken house, and now they have the raised beds as well. They put in, everything is watered there at the farm, at this orphanage. Here's some of the pictures of the kids pulling up the greens. This is Godfrey. This is the dean of students at the school. He was my translator this year when I was teaching the farming to the students. He was my translator. At the end of the class, he asked me would I help him with his own farm. So kind of show you an example of how this is working, how it's slowly starting to trickle. Just some of these small things like planting your corn closer together, planting at the right depth, using fertilizers properly. Last year on his plot, he was able to produce 3 buckets of corn, so 3 20-liter buckets of corn. On the same plot, he asked me to help him with his plot, the same plot. He planted his corn. I went over there, helped him. We did the spacing, the depth, and everything, got everything right, planted it right, it's supposed to be planted. The whole time, the village was making fun of him. Actually, the local leader of the village came up and said, if I knew you were going to plant your corn like this, I would have gave you my land to plant so I could have corn for my cows. So he's telling him that his corn was going to come up and die, that it wasn't going to grow. And so he went back and put fertilizer on it once it got up, and they were making fun of him again. You know, you can't put fertilizer on your corn, you're going to kill your corn, you don't know what you're doing. So his corn came all the way up, and he produced, this year he was able to produce 24 buckets of corn on the same piece of property. So he went from 3 buckets to 24 buckets on the same piece of property, and all the people from the village were coming around saying that he was a witch doctor, that he used magic to grow his corn. And so he was able to, tell me no. We started doing these things differently. So we've actually, by the village leader, been invited to come in and do a seminar. There's also not a church in this area as well, so we're kind of excited to get to go out to this village, teach them the farming stuff, and also be able a chance to teach them the gospel as well. In this village that we've not ever been able to get into, so this is pretty cool to get to go out there and get in with the village leader, get in with these people, and be invited in there to do some teaching and seminars as well. So these are the guys that I work with. This is the future of this farming project. Everyone we train to be over each project. We want to make sure that when we're finished teaching these things, when all these things have been implemented, that it can continue forever. That's the goal of this work, is to see that the school is able to sustain itself forever. Is kind of our end goal. I know it's a big goal, and that sounds like a big goal, but that's our vision, that's our goal. And to do that, these are the guys that we're training to run each and every one of these projects. These are great guys. They're hard workers. I mean, they're running this thing now. My farm leader broke his arm playing soccer and is still running everything with a broken arm. And so he's been calling me and asking questions. He can't drive. He can't do anything. There's no pain medicine over there. So he's constantly in pain, but still out running and stuff on the farm. So they're great workers, great guys. We're still doing children's seminars. One of our goals was to be able to get out to all the churches in the Arusha region and visit all of them. We were able to do that this year. We've been to all the churches within a 2-hour radius of us. We've been out, spent time with them, done some seminars with them, had a meal with them, encouraged them, just so they can know who we are and meet and greet all the Christians in our surrounding area. In these seminars, Anna teaches the children, but the goal is for the women to watch them teach the children. And then after lunch, she teaches a ladies' seminar and teaches the women the importance of teaching the children. A lot of times they just open their Bibles and they read from the Bible wherever it happens to open up for an hour, and that's their Bible class. So teaching the women the importance of teaching the children at their own level and tying things together. There's several things that are available for the teachers and the ladies. We have a craft room at our house. There's another craft room in Arusha. So there's stuff available for them if they will utilize these things, and teaching them not to be afraid of these things and using what is there for them to use. Here's some more pictures of the children's seminars. One cool thing that came from the children's seminars that we weren't really expecting when all these kids are coming, all the women are coming, their parents a lot of times are bringing them and just sitting out there with nothing to do. So because of that, I have had the opportunity to study the Bible. A lot of people in a lot of these congregations. There's been a lot of people obey the gospel at a lot of these littler congregations. And so it kind of works out. It's a fun day for everyone. Anna's in there teaching the children, teaching the women. Me and Desderi, which is the translator's, her translator is James, or Jane's husband. I'm out there with him. We're out evangelizing with people, so it's a cool day. We get to have lunch with the congregation, fellowship with the Christians, and teach the gospel and teach the children and the women at the same time. So it's a pretty neat, fun day to be out. So we've been able now to get around to all the congregations within 2 hours of us. Something new that we've started this year, or that Anna has started this year, is the laws are a little different in Arusha, or in Tanzania in general. If one student at the school is from your congregation, you're allowed to teach Bible at that school. So every Friday, there's a Bible class that my wife goes and teaches at the local school there in Kisongo. She has about 120 kids that come to her class every Friday. She does a great job with these kids. Once the other denominations heard that the Church of Christ was going in teaching the children, they started sending people to come and teach classes as well. At first, we were the only ones in the school teaching. And so some other people come in, teach the class. Well, all the kids came to Anna's class. None of them went to any other one else's class. So the other teachers were complaining, and so they came into the class. One of the teachers did and was like, if you go to this church, you need to go over here to this class. If you go to this church, you need to go to this class. And none of the kids would get up. And the teacher was like, well, you go to church with me. I know you don't go to this church. You have to go to this other class. And he's like, oh, no, I go to this church. And so they wouldn't even leave the classroom. I think they've pretty much all quit coming because none of the kids would come to their class. They all go to Anna's. She asked me, she had to be gone one Friday, and she asked me to go teach this class for her. I'm standing in there. All the kids are coming in. A big group of kids run in the door, and they're like, well, who are you? And I'm like, well, I'm Justin. I'm Anna's husband. I'll be teaching class today. And they're like, All of them turned around and went back out of the classroom. And so she does a great job. They're in there because they love her and they love what way she's teaching. I couldn't even keep them in the classroom. They saw me and turned around and left. So her and two other ladies from the church are teaching the younger kids. And then one of her translator's husband is teaching the older kids. And because through the two classes, there's been over 7 kids baptized this year out of this one school. So we're looking to expand this and start getting out in some of the other schools as well. And so that's something we want to do next year, and start moving in some of these other schools. The way it works out, so some of them you can teach on Friday, some of them you can teach on Wednesday. There's 2 different days, so we're hoping to add another school to this. That's within. So this school is actually within walking distance. So my wife every Friday just walks over there. So it's pretty cool. Another thing that we've kind of shifted our focus to, kind of a change of idea, a change of thought in our own personal work, our evangelism and stuff. There's a lot of people come through this work. If anyone's ever interested in coming to Arusha, Tanzania, you're more than welcome. I think my wife and me live by ourselves for 60 days this year. There's about 60 days out of the whole year where there's not someone from the States there with us. And so there's always groups, there's always people. It's a great place to get to work. It's an awesome place to get to come and do evangelism. A lot of people describe Arusha, Tanzania as like a youth camp for adults, or a Bible school playground is another example a lot of people use. It's an awesome place to get to come and work, get to get out of your comfort zone, study the Bible with people. There's people there all the time. Because of that, there's a lot of new Christians. There's people that are being converted all the time because they're so open to hearing the gospel. They're so willing once you show them in the Bible where the truth says and where it's at. They believe that and they're convicted by that. It's an awesome place to get to be. And so there's a lot of new Christians being converted all the time over there. So one thing that my wife and I have kind of changed our focus. We're still doing evangelism, but we're also doing a lot of encouragement work as well. We spend a lot of time going back to these new Christians just to make sure that these aren't numbers that are being sent back to the States, but they're actually becoming Christians, actually devout Christians that are there forever. It's one thing that we've been working for and striving for this year. Is spending a lot of time and effort following up with these studies after they've been baptized. The Bible says to go and make disciples, and that does not stop when you baptize someone. That's a continual growth. And so we spent a lot of time this year focusing on that continual growth of these new Christians. Because we have so many people coming in from the States doing the evangelism work, we've been trying to make sure we follow up behind those people and spend a lot of our time and effort doing that as well this year. These are two ladies who's an example of this. These ladies were actually baptized in January. My wife's mother taught them the gospel. They were baptized. And every week this entire year, Anna has went back to them and done classes, follow-up classes with them, and just, kind of started doing just basic lessons. A lot of times when these people are baptized or converted, they don't really know anything about the Bible, so you're kind of starting from scratch, teaching them basic stuff. So she's been back every week studying with them. Now, if you ever get to come over there, you'll see why this happens. Because of this follow-up studies, 7 of her neighbors have been baptized as well, just because of this one follow-up study once a week. Just by going to their house, people see you walk into their house, they're like, oh, what are y'all doing? We're like, they're studying the Bible. We're like, can we come too? So there's been 7 other of their neighbors have been baptized as well. And so now when you go to this class, there's all these people, a ton of people coming into this one class, getting the follow-up studies now. And so just by going this one little area of houses, following up with these 2 ladies that were baptized in January, there's been 7 other people in that area been baptized. And they're still going back and still doing these follow-up lessons with all these ladies. The reason why we chose these 2, there's a campaign in November. So this is almost a year later from when they're baptized. We have a big campaign in November in the Rusha congregation. There's a big church that comes. There's about 30, 35 Americans. So with that, there's another 30, 35 translators. And then the Rusha church has about 100 members. So all of them are at the church. We go out in the local area. We walk and do door knocking and then do Bible studies and things. Well, the Rusha church asked if all the surrounding congregations, if they would come and volunteer to cook for this so that the Rusha women can be out doing the evangelism work in their area. So that way, because they're the face of the church, they're the ladies who will meet the ladies when they're baptized that need to be out helping with evangelism and tagging along with evangelism to help build those relationships. And so we show up that morning for the first day of the seminar, and we see these 2 ladies there. And these 2 ladies are at the congregation that we worship at all the time. And they come up and hug us and everything. So the 2 ladies that volunteered, and this includes giving up their job for a week to come and cook at the Rusha congregation, were the 2 ladies that were baptized in January. They're also now volunteering to teach in the classes at the church. And so they've come a long way since January. But this is kind of our goal, is our vision, is that we're trying to follow up with these ladies, follow up with these men, follow up with all these new converts so that they're plugging themselves in, so they're giving up of their time and their efforts to help the church grow. So these are 2 ladies that we've been super encouraged with this year by giving up their time, giving up their own money to come and cook for another congregation that's an hour away, and they're brand new Christians still. And so these are 2 awesome women who we got to work with this year. The last thing we'll talk about real fast, another thing that we've been working hard, or I've been personally working hard with, just like with the school, being self-governing, self-sufficient, just like our focus has kind of moved towards in the encouragement and the strengthening of these new Christians. We're also started working a lot with the local congregations as well, helping them reach that point of maturity they need to reach. This year we mostly focused on the Rusha congregation. They're about 100, 115 people. They approached me, a preacher approached me this year. He said, we want elders. We don't know what to do. We don't know how to start this process. So we worked out a game plan with him all the way back in January, and have been working with him for an entire year on curriculum. He's been teaching the classes. We sent several people out there. I went out there, done seminars about leadership, about elders, and they've actually they're the first church in the Rusha region now to have appointed 4 men as elders. So I think the only way for the churches to start reaching that level of maturity to ensure that they're able to be stable is, one, first being able to grow mature enough to have elders, and then start moving towards paying your own preachers. And that's something that we're working with now with the Rusha, is doing budgeting. And we've also started this with our congregation, the one we attend and work out at Kisongo as well. So in February, we'll start leadership classes and elders classes at Kisongo. Kisongo has about 200 members now. It's a really growing congregation. The Safari for Souls, so all evangelism work will be geared toward Kisongo this year. So when all these people are coming in, we'll have classes, we'll have lessons and stuff for the men about elders, about leadership. And we're hoping by the end of the year that they will be able to put men forward to be elders as well at the Kisongo congregation. And I've been working hard with them on budgeting. They're wanting to, by the end of next year, start paying their own preacher. So we've had some classes. I have some guys coming with CPAs, and their financial guys are going to come do some seminars with the leadership of this church. And so we're working towards these things so that not only the school, and new converts, but also the churches start getting where they're maturing and having the setup that the Bible teaches to have with elders and doing these things. So I appreciate your time. I think that's time for me to quit, right? This is kind of the stuff that we've been a part of this past year. I could stay up here for 2 or 3 hours if I talked about everything, but if you have any questions, feel free to talk to me and my wife or I. We love talking about the work, love talking about Africa, but thank y'all very much.